Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Ali Hojjat, and I am the Director of Product Marketing at Intertrust. I'm here with my colleague, Gadi Ita, and we want to cover cost-effective multi-DRM service for advanced video streaming platforms for you today. Let's start this presentation. Next slide. Well, before starting, I wanted to thank Bitmovin for giving Intertrust this opportunity to be at this event and contribute to this event. Intertrust and Bitmovin have actually a long history of partnership. In fact, our relationship goes back to, I think, 2015 to 2016, where we worked together on some joint customers. I think at that moment, we actually deployed Intertrust multi-DRM service and Bitmovin's encoding and packaging platform on a joint customer. Today, technically, Bitmovin encoder is integrated with ExpressPlay key management system, and therefore any content being encoded and packaged by Bitmovin can actually be protected with Intertrust ExpressPlay multi-DRM service. And besides that, Bitmovin HTML5 player is fully compatible with ExpressPlay DRM service. And over the years, we have actually had quite a few joint customers who has been protecting their video service, OTT services with our joint solution, and they have been really high-profile customers in different regions. Next slide. So before actually we get into the outline, let's have a quick introduction about from the presenters here. Again, this is Ali Hojjat. I have about 15 years of experience in product management and product marketing in content protection and anti-piracy services. For about 6 years, I worked at Broadcom with focus on SoC for set-top boxes, and that was where I managed conditional access and DRM certifications. After that, I worked for Verimetrics for about 7 years, where again, I had focused on CAS, DRM, and anti-piracy products and services. Currently, I'm actually responsible for all aspects of product marketing for media and entertainment products at Intertrust. And again, it's a pleasure to be here. My colleague, Gadi Ita, who is the product manager, director of product management for ExpressPlay DRM, is here with me. Gadi, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yes, hi, everybody. I've been the product manager for ExpressPlay for almost 3 years now. My background is mostly in software development. So prior to this role, I was the CTO of a subsidiary Intertrust had in the enterprise space. And prior to that, I spent 5 years at Microsoft working on large-scale web services and desktop software.
Thank you, Gadi. Next slide, please. So let's quickly cover what we want to review today. Basically, I will start with an overview of Intertrust technologies and give you an introduction of the product and services that we are offering. Then we'll look into some of the challenges that advanced OTT streaming platforms are facing, specifically related to content security and anti-piracy. Then we will look at ExpressPlay multi-DRM service. After that, we'll try to dig deeper in the challenge that basically OTT streaming services are facing in terms of buy versus build decision when it comes to a multi-DRM platform. The discussion will focus on the complexity of technology and infrastructure and the impact of this factor on their decision-making process, as well as how to minimize the total cost of ownership for their content security platform. And after that, I'll pass over to Gadi so that he actually starts to explain additional cost savings that are possible with ExpressPlay DRM, and really how the CMAP or content common media application format and a streamlined packaging workflow can be used to provide additional cost savings. We'll talk a little bit about how to configure Bitmovin player with ExpressPlay DRM service, and then we'll wrap up with a Q&A. Next slide, please. Slides are slow. Next slide. Great. Okay, so Intertrust actually is a global technology company that provides trusted computing products and services. There are three different business groups. As you see on the screen, Media Solution is really focusing on content protection and anti-piracy. Secure systems include tamper-resistant software solution and kind of managed PKI and key provisioning service. And trusted data platform is basically a trusted computing platform for data-driven businesses and services. So in terms of media solutions, Expressplay DRM is actually a leading edge cloud-based multi-DRM and anti-piracy service, which has been proven solid scalability in a lot of largest streaming platforms globally. Expressplay XCA is a content security offering for broadcast TV. It's a solution that is actually leveraging Marlin DRM engine embedded in several smart TVs and set-top boxes, and provides a broadcast TV content protection. And Kiora is a content security or content delivery platform that enables secure offline streaming and specifically designed for local Wi-Fi's and suitable for transportation and hospitality use cases. In terms of secure systems business group, Whitecryption and CSERS are the two main products. Whitecryption is actually a code protection and secure key box solution, which is used for application shielding and technically app layer software protection. And CSERT is a large-scale key provisioning service, and it's actually a managed PKI platform that is used as a certificate authority for different verticals. It is used for media and entertainment extensively, as well as secure IoT platforms. And lastly, the main product of data platform business group is actually called Modulus. And Modulus is kind of a data rights management platform, which is enabling multi-party trusted computing services, meaning that for either IoT or different data business models, multi-parties can perform computing services on the trusted platform. Next slide. So Intertrust actually has a global footprint. All of our services, cloud-based services, are available over the world, and we have local offices and operations in every region. In terms of operations, I want to say our service is really leveraging the AWS cloud globally, except for China that we use Ali Cloud. Many tier 1 streaming services in APAC are actually using Marlin DRM from Intertrust and rely on Expressplay multi-DRM service for their streaming services. A note about Marlin DRM. So basically, it is the world's only open standard digital rights system, the digital rights management system. It was founded by Intertrust, Panasonic, Philips, Samsung, and Sony back in 2005. And it has been widely used in many APAC countries throughout the years. Today, Intertrust actually is the only software provider that delivers the complete Marlin stack as part of the Expressplay multi-DRM platform. And this offering also includes other DRMs from Microsoft, Apple, Google, and Adobe as well. Next slide. So as the streaming video viewing increases around the world, we obviously do see increase in video piracy. And so that, considering the fact that basically OTT streaming service providers really rely on digital rights management and other anti-piracy techniques, they are facing several challenges, which are really focused on operational and security challenges in their service operations. So one of these main challenges when it comes to security is really related to the fragmentation of devices, and that the fact that subscribers really want to watch their favorite content on a variety of devices. And that could include kind of different type of browsers on PC and Mac, different type of smartphones, tablets, smart TVs, and so on. And so each of these devices use a different operating system and DRM technology, which is natively embedded and integrated for protecting any streaming platform. And so because of this diversity and fragmentation in the supported DRM platforms, a service provider has no choice but to really support a broad range of DRM solutions. Another challenge that is really related to delivery of DRM licenses is to be able to deliver licenses at large scale robustly. So the content obviously is encrypted, and viewers cannot really decrypt the DRM licenses if they cannot decrypt the content if DRM licenses are not delivered properly and robustly in a timely manner. And that could really cause subscriber churn if the user experience is not really to the level that consumers want. So this actually elevates the fact that delivering DRM licenses timely and robustly is an important factor. Another big challenge is really related to scalability and availability of the DRM platform. Obviously, this is very critical for live events where there is a large number of subscribers watch the content concurrently and simultaneously. So the service provider has to scale the DRM solution very quickly to meet the peak demand during any live event. And lastly, the challenge is, with the integration of the player on multiple platforms is also still an important factor. Whether it's HTML5 player, Android, or iOS devices and their native players, it is very important to be able to meet the security requirements from studios and content owners, and basically implement the requirements correctly between the DRM client and the media player, which is on every device. Next slide. So let's talk about the ExpressPlane multi-DRM service a little bit. As mentioned, it supports all major DRM solutions, including Marlin, Google Whitewine, Microsoft PlayReady, Apple FairPlay Streaming, and Adobe Primetime. The ExpressPlane multi-DRM service actually offers a very straightforward REST API interface, and that is very easy to be integrated for retrieving DRM licenses. The cloud-based multi-DRM service actually, importantly, is very highly scalable and operates across multiple AWS regions. It supports active failover between different regions, and also it supports multiple availability zones in each region. So it is really an extremely robust deployment. ExpressPlane multi-DRM service also offers key management service, and so technically, we can manage the content keys for the service providers. In fact, we have over 10 years of experience managing keys for DRM platforms. And it also offers audit logs for license acquisition events, and that's really helpful to analyze usage behavior. And lastly, the service is complemented with anti-piracy and session-based forensic watermarking services in collaboration with several partners that Intertrust has. I mean, these anti-piracy and forensic watermarking services complement the DRM technology for an end-to-end security and enable really piracy detection and being able to fight against piracy. Next slide. Now, when it comes to protecting the advanced OTT streaming platform with a multi-DRM solution, service providers usually are faced with a question on if, or a challenge on if they should invest in creation of an in-house platform for their content security needs, or rely on a security expert. I mean, the main question really comes down to if OTT service provider wants and can manage, operate, and maintain a content protection infrastructure that supports a variety of different types of DRM technologies all in-house? Or is it more economical, or far more economical, to outsource content security to a partner that offers a cloud-based multi-DRM platform? Some solution that has already been field tested and used with major partners and customers in an evolving OTT environment. So when building actually in-house security system, maybe it was simpler many years ago, but now time is different, and ultimately the decision comes down to really two factors, as you can see on the screen. One being really how to manage the complexity of technology and the impact of infrastructure on this multi-DRM platform, And secondly, really be able to minimize the total cost of ownership for the multi-DRM platform. So let's talk more in detail what we mean by these two factors now. Next slide. Next slide, please. So when you look at the complexity of technology, one important factor is really managing the fragmentation of the growing number of devices and operating systems. We talked about this a little bit at the beginning. So it's really critical to ensure consistency in user behaviors across all the different types of devices, and make sure there is no delay in delivering keys and licenses from DRM servers when it's actually managed by multiple licensing authorities. So developing and maintaining device security libraries for different platforms such as iOS, Android, and different type of browsers in-house would turn out to be very complicated, and it's far more efficient to rely on a multi-DRM platform provider which has extensive experience in managing end-to-end security for different types of DRM technologies and operating systems. So that's really the factor number one for managing the complexity of technology. Next slide. So secondly, it is actually how to consider the impact of infrastructure. It's a big challenge to create a global infrastructure, and especially when building a global infrastructure in-house, the multi-DRM platform would require either leveraging a private cloud platform or some on-prem systems, which both would require some CapEx investment. And therefore, the service provider has really has no choice but to absorb the full cost of dedicated capacity. On the other hand, when they subscribe to actually a partner that offers cloud-based multi-DRM service, they can really take advantage of a global footprint, regional redundancies, and a fault-tolerant operation without any additional upfront investment and initial CapEx investment. Next slide. Now, when we look at minimizing total cost of ownership, one important factor is related to scalability and expanding reach. So when a platform is built in-house, the system has to be pre-provisioned for a maximum number of expected concurrent users. And a lot of times, this estimation can be miscalculated and therefore results in extra cost for a spare capacity that is not needed. But when a multi-DRM service is used from a third party, the service provider can actually scale up and down based on business needs without any additional risk. So it's very dynamic and flexible. Another important factor is really the timing, because again, building an in-house DRM platform could take up to months. But by leveraging actually a cloud-based platform, the video service operators can have a very rapid initial deployment, and it can, more importantly, access the latest upgrades related to all the different DRM technologies available. And therefore, they can actually stay ahead of the rapidly changing technology and external threats. And obviously, it comes with a flexible business model instead of initial CapEx. Next slide. So when you look at the CapEx savings, obviously building an in-house platform will require initial investment. We talked about that. When we look at the third-party multi-DRM service provider, it actually enables a predictable and pay-as-you-grow model with an OpEx business model, and that really avoids any initial investment, and it's more economical. It also results in maximizing the value with economies of scale. So imagine when the platform is built in-house, the service provider has to pay for all the costs, whether it's related to on-prem systems or the cloud infrastructure, and they have to pay that, and it's only them using that platform. So they have to absorb the full cost themselves. While a multi-DRM service provider really amortizes the cost of infrastructure over a large number of customers around the globe, and therefore they're able to offer better pricing and enable the service operators to have a better service at a lower price point. Next slide. So I think at this point I'm gonna hand over to Gadi to talk about additional savings that we can leverage using CMAF and streamlined packaging. Gadi?
Yes, thanks, Ellie. The first thing I wanted to talk about is the common media application format, CMAF, and the primary problem CMAF is solving is it's twofold. One, every device has a specific media container format that it favors. So iOS has its typical format, which is MPEG 2TS, and Android typically uses fragmented MP4. Same thing, there's a divide amongst the browsers, Safari versus the rest of the browsers. And when adding DRM, each DRM system also has a specific encryption mode it prefers. Apple DRM system Fairplay prefers CBCS, while the rest of the DRM systems, Widevine and PlayReady, prefer common encryption. CMAF solved this problem by standardizing. It basically mandates common encryption for the encryption mode, and it mandates fragmented MP4 for the container format. What this means is that any device that can play CMAF can share the same media as the other devices. This allows the media to be packaged once and delivered to the Apple ecosystem, the Android ecosystem, and the web. It's also a forward-looking standard, so it has support for low latency. The additional cost savings is in the CDN efficiencies it introduces. The CDN, the POP endpoint, has a limited cache size. So if there are multiple versions of the same content, that means it's more likely that the device will have to go back to the origin to get the content, increasing the load on the origin, reducing the viewer experience. It's now, CMAF is supported by all the major DRM systems, and we host all of those. It's also BitMove it has an encoders capable of producing CMAF content. And while it's true that in terms of device support, adoption started with iOS 10 and Android 7.1, so maybe 3-4 years ago. So there's still somewhat of a long tail of devices that don't support CMAF, but at the same time, developer surveys show that 25% of organizations are actually doing something with CMAF because it's forward-looking. And there's actual benefits to implementing it even immediately as an added format, because if it turns out that the majority of your audience, or even the majority of your audience that requests traffic from a certain CDN POP, they will have a much better experience if you use CMAF. So I thought I'd introduce CMAF as one option to reduce cost and improve performance. Second topic I want to talk about is the content packaging workflow. So DRM requires encryption, and the encryption keys need to be managed securely. This gets somewhat complicated when you have multiple parties. If you have one party that is doing the encryption, another party that is eventually going to issue the content licenses. So the way to address this is to have the DRM system manage the keys, and then the parties that are doing the packaging and the parties that are issuing the DRM licenses all use the DRM system to retrieve the keys. ExpressPlay has a key management service. It supports the SPEAK protocol, which allows sharing of content keys as well as any DRM signaling that needs to go into the media. BitMove has also implemented SPEAK, and what this means is using the BitMove object model to develop scripts that can retrieve the content keys and DRM signaling seamlessly from the ExpressPlay backend, submit it to the BitMove backend for packaging. In this case, the setup is that the input is from a S3 bucket, clear content, that is access control, and the output is to an S3 bucket, but there's different ways that can be configured. And this entire setup is, first of all, it's secure. Second, it's quite streamlined. So this really reduces the cost to develop a packaging pipeline and then to operate it. I wanted to give an idea of what it actually takes to integrate ExpressPlay with BitMove. So this is the typical license acquisition workflow. It starts with the player requesting a license acquisition URL. This request goes to the OTT service that authenticates the request, and if it's authorized, it requests from ExpressPlay authorization token. It passes specific rights it would like, and it also specifies the key identifier that would use to package the content. ExpressPlay will return the authorization token, and the OTT service will typically convert that to the license acquisition URL, and then that is passed to the player. The player uses the license acquisition URL to retrieve the license. What it looks like in practice, this is a request to retrieve a Widevine token. You can see it's a very simple curl command. In this case, we're not passing any rights. We're just specifying a specific key identifier. And the license acquisition URL that is returned, you can see it has a compound URL. Part of it points to the license server, the part in red. And then the second part is the authorization token. Now, this is the integration with the Bitmovin player. So Bitmovin has done all the heavy lifting of integrating with the browser's CDM, the security module in the browser. So from the developer perspective, integrating DRM amounts to specifying the license acquisition URL when configuring the player. If this all seems interesting, we do offer a 30-day free trial. It's a self-service, and sign up at on our portal. There's also a lot of material about DRM, about how to implement an end-to-end solution. We have a help center where you can submit questions and tickets. If you'd like further details, please contact ExpressPlay sales at intertrust.com. Ali, do you have any questions?
Yeah, no, thanks, Cody. I think there's some time to take a couple of questions. Let me look in here. So the first question is, can ExpressPlay protect large live events? I'll take that. I think that's a great question. And what is important about large events, or what's special about large events, is that basically a large number of subscribers are watching the same content simultaneously. And so as we talked, scalability and availability of the multi-DRM service is crucial so that the subscribers can actually watch the sporting event with the same quality of experience. Actually, ExpressPlay DRM service has been protecting some of the largest OTT streaming services in APAC, and they had been streaming large-scale live sporting events. One example was our development with Hotstar, which streamed India Cricket League last year and had about more than 25 million concurrent viewers watching the same game. And so ExpressPlay DRM really managed the scalability and availability needed to deliver DRM licenses robustly to all 25 million concurrent video viewers during the same game. Another example, I think, was related to a cricket World Cup game last year again, where we could activate 100 million users in a single day to watch different games throughout the day. And again, that's a huge number to consider. The next question, any specific challenges when deploying multi-DRM in APAC? Gadi, do you want to answer that?
Yes. So a couple come to mind. One, there seems to be a lot more fragmentation at the Android, in the Android platform, and a lot more of legacy devices that need to be supported. A lot of our customers, for that reason, prefer to use the ExpressPlay Marlin SDK. It provides a uniform interface, not just across Android, for Android, iOS, and desktop, and it helps them address potential challenges with the native DRM. Some of them, even if they prefer to use the native DRM, they actually include our SDK as well as a fallback in case the native DRM doesn't work for some reason. The second thing that comes to mind is smart TVs. We see more smart TVs, older smart TVs that are still in use. The players that ship with these smart TVs, they haven't always kept up with the latest development in DRM technology. What we typically advise our customers is to use a modern HTML5 players instead of the built-in player. Bitmoving has one that's been tested with older TV systems, which we find works very well.
That's great. Thank you, Gadi. I think it's all we have time today for questions. And so what we do, we will actually collect the rest of the questions and we'll respond back by email. One, again, thanks for joining this webinar and listening to this presentation. And again, thanks to Bitmoving for actually including Intertrust and this APAC live event. Thank you.
Thank you.